Now, I don't want this to turn into any kind of political pontificating or anything like that, but like many people yesterday, I sat and watched the press conference between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky yesterday, which of course was, well, very uncomfortable and in some ways rather a disturbing and frankly disgusting spectacle. I'm not going to make any pronouncements necessarily on my personal beliefs because that's neither here nor there, but it did inspire this video in a roundabout way. Hello everybody, welcome to and welcome back to my channel Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. And you might be thinking, how did it inspire this particular video? Well, if you remember, Trump started going on to Zelensky saying he was gambling on World War III and this kind of thing. And I started thinking, oh yeah, World War III, that'd be terrible, some kind of nuclear apocalypse, it'd be bloody typical as well as I moved into this new house. And of course, I'm not a million miles away from, all that action and what, not a million miles away from Ukraine and things like that. So I thought, oh, it'd be terrible. And I started thinking about, obviously my loved ones, dear Elvis, and, how we would cope and survive. And then I got thinking about, what things, material things I would rescue. And of course, being a book lover, I started to think about what books I would rescue. And I was initially going to do 10 books that I would rescue in the event of a nuclear apocalypse. That actually got pushed up to 12 because it's quite difficult. And I had to have certain parameters for this because otherwise it would have proved to have been an impossible task. So these parameters were kind of as follows. One being that I would choose books that I've only read since being on BookTube. Right? My favorite, if you like, it's my 12 favorite books that I've read since being on BookTube. So that's why there's no Three Men in a Boat and no Treasure Island. And plus, I'm sure you'd get bored if every single list I made included those two books, which it would, of course, normally speaking. But so I've decided, to have that as a caveat. And the other one being not to have any books that are like in different volumes or a series or anything like that. So it ruled out, for example, a book that I would have put in there, although it would have been blocked out by the first caveat. But so something, for example, like The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, right? Which I love, and I read it years and years and years ago, and then read it recently on BookTube, loved it again. And but considering it would survive as a standalone novel, it is part of the greater George Smiley series, right? So that was out, as well as a few other books that I would have thought about putting on here, like The Lost World, for example, by Arthur Conan Doyle. Again, though, negated by the first caveat. So instead, they are standalone novels only. I may do one for non-fiction. I probably will, actually. But they're all books that I have come to love since being on BookTube. So you can take it as my 12, as I say, my 12 favourite books of the Book Time with Elvis era. Or the 12 books I would save in the event of World War III and a nuclear holocaust. Of course, though, with the likes of Treasure Island and Three Men in a Boat, I believe I know the story so well that although I may not be able to rewrite them in their entirety, I would be at least able to, retell the stories over the campfires as we all struggle to keep warm in a nuclear winter. The same maybe with a few of the Sherlock Holmes stories and things like that. I like to think, but hopefully we'll never have to find out. But so far, as of March 2025, my 12 favourite books, or the 12 books I would save in event of this calamity, are as follows. So I've made a list. It's in no particular order, so I'm not saying one thing is better than another, but I'm going to start off with, just for sheer ease of what I've got in how I've got them piled up here, I've got Daphne du Maurier's Jamaica Inn. Now, I hadn't read this before being on BookTube, or have I? I may have made a mistake on this one. No, I don't think so. I think I maybe started it years and years ago when I was young, but didn't get around to finishing it. But anyway, what sticks in my mind is I definitely read it when I was on BookTube, and along with her other works that I've enjoyed, such as My Cousin Rachel or Rebecca, this to me is the standout best of the bunch. Now, I do like some of her short story collections as well, but I'm only choosing one, and this is the one I'm choosing. So Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier is being saved from this. Now, of course, there's some big ones coming up here. Another book that must be preserved in the event of this global catastrophe would, of course, be Christine Donaher's translation of Les Miserables. And I'm being specific here with regards to those particular translations because I haven't read any others. But from what I know, speaking to good friends of mine like Sean D. Stanfast, it's probably the best of the translations out there. Certainly the newest, and it's a fantastic book. And I mean, I think you could read and reread this book and never get bored. So it would be a perfect thing to have with you in such terrible straits and circumstances as you may find this in. So definitely Victor Hugo's Les Miserables is being saved. Now, another massive book that I read only since joining BookTube, and again fast and quickly became a favourite of mine to be reread in the future. I don't understand how it's dusty on the sides when it's been in the bookshelf. I could understand if it was on the top, but I don't know. Anyway, it of course is Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace here, which again, remarkable book, fantastic, and definitely needs to be saved. It's the translation by Anthony Briggs, who I think did a wonderful job. Of course, not having read it or understanding Russian or reading the original version, I couldn't tell you exactly how good it is. But in terms of it being a very readable and engaging work, I think he's done a great job, and definitely War and Peace is a favourite. It's ironic, I suppose, given that where at least this book and the next book come from, and the circumstances we find ourselves in, because of course, very likely, if we find ourselves in that situation, the country that gave birth to these two authors may well be responsible for the situation in which I'm having to rescue their books. But the second one is Mikhail Bulgakov's Master and Margarita, which I thoroughly enjoyed as well. It was one of those books I was actually quite nervous about reading because I thought it would be very difficult, and it didn't really shout out to me, but I did a group read of it a couple of years ago on BookTube, and actually, was it a group read or a buddy read? Definitely I read it with Sonia, fantastic commenter on the channel, but I can't remember if we read it with anyone else. But regardless, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a great work, and again, well worthy of being taken down into that bunker with Elvis and I, to while away those crazy moments. And sticking with big ones, I'm going to have to go with Robin Buss's translation of The Count of Monte Cristo, which is again a great book and a wonderful book, probably to keep you occupied during those times, to keep your mind off the other troubles that you may be facing, in the aftermath, such as maybe zombies or whatever else. But in the event of the apocalypse, then The Count of Monte Cristo, the Robin Buss translation, is definitely coming with me, and it's actually due a reread, I think, and hopefully, maybe I'll get to it this year. Now, next up, we have a couple more books. Now, I will do the ones actually that I don't have physical copies for, which are a few of them. So Dan Simmons's The Terror was a book I read last year, a fictional horror, historical fiction / horror book based on the events of the Franklin expedition in the 1840s to the Arctic. Was a really special book, thoroughly enjoyable, and extremely engaging and gripping, full of adventure as well as gruesome horror and things like that. So Maybe not my normal cup of tea, although the historical part definitely is. But yeah, definitely worth saving there. The Terror by Dan Simmons. Now, next up is A Kiss Before Dying. If you know this book, it's the same author as Stepford Wives and Rosemary's Baby. In fact, Rosemary's Baby was one I was thinking of putting on there because I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I think I actually enjoyed, maybe I enjoyed A Kiss Before Dying even more than Rosemary's Baby. So yeah, I think I made the right choice. So Kiss Before Dying by Ira Levin is definitely on the list. And another one that I have a copy of, although I can't find it, it's definitely here. I've seen it, but I think what it's done is I've double stacked and I've put it behind, and I'm not gonna pull it out. But it was a firm corker in last year's Water Corkers series of videos, and it was R.L. Delderfield's To Serve Them All My Days, an amazing story about a man who's experienced the horrors of the First World War, comes back to England, injured, scarred mentally, physically from his experiences. He gets a job in a minor public school, and those boys seem to, his job helps him come to terms with those horrors as well as horrible things he faces later on in his life as well. But the school is the constant, and if you like, his saving grace, so to speak. And it's a great book, and I absolutely recommend it to everyone. To Serve Them All My Days by R.L. Delderfield. So moving on from those three that I don't have, I will go to Charles Dickens, actually, and it's the second Charles Dickens I read since being on BookTube. The others I would have read before, so they didn't count. And it was a toss-up between Bleak House and this one, but I went for this because I really enjoyed it. Our Mutual Friend. Really enjoyable book. The London setting, of course, is nice. It's quite dark. Again, the whole mistaken identity, large inheritance story, murder. It was really excellent book, and I think possibly maybe my favourite Dickens now, actually. So that's good. Next up, we have another new book to me, of course, read last year, thoroughly engaging, enjoyable, not overly long, so one I can definitely recommend, and that's Davis Grubb's The Night of the Hunter here. A tale of murder, intrigue, I suppose. And it's quite disturbing. Let's put it that way. Not disturbing in the way of some of, if you watch Criminoli's disturbing things, but I mean, kind of in some ways, psychologically different. I mean, it's not going to keep you awake at night, but there are uncomfortable moments, of course, in it, and some great characters as well. Definitely recommended. Davis Grubb's The Night of the Hunter. And then, an absolute favourite of mine, born out of one of my favourite events, which of course was started by Michael K. Vaughan, and that is Charles Portis's True Grit. Well worth saving. Short book you could read in a weekend. So if you're going to take part in, I know it's only February, but if you're going to take part in June on the Range this year and you want to read a Western, this is the one you should read, basically, if you haven't got a lot of time. I could have put maybe things like Lonesome Dove on here, but again, it's part of a series, so it wouldn't have counted. But the story of Mattie Ross, trying to track down the man who shot her father with the help of Rooster Cogburn. Great book. I mean, obviously both film versions are great, but the book is better. And then lastly, to round off this TBR for the apocalypse, I know I shouldn't really make light of it, of course, but what can you do in these kind of situations, right? What can you do? Apart from maybe try to face adversity with a sense of humor, right? And who knows, maybe it's not going to be that bad. We'll see. But so the last one is from an old author, but new to me, and huge highlight of Dr. November for me last year, and possibly my favorite book that I read for Dr. November, and it's Eric Ambler's Epitaph for a Spy, which was extremely enjoyable. It's about a Hungarian man on holiday in France who gets mistaken for a spy, and then he has to kind of prove to the authorities he isn't by going undercover and actually spying on all the other guests at the hotel to see which one actually is the spy. So it's kind of funny that way, but it's very good. And Eric Ambler, I've read a few of his books last year, and they were all great. But this, as I said, was perhaps my particular favorite. So there we have it. My 12 books for World War III or the apocalypse, or my 12 favorite books since being on BookTube. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope maybe you'll make your own video, or you will let me know in the comments below what some of your picks would be. Either you can come up with your own criteria or caveats, but I thought in my case this was the best way to do it. So there we have it. Thank you very much, everybody. Do take care and stay safe out there. All the best from I was going to say a snowy Czech Republic, but actually, because if you've watched my videos, over the last few days, I'm wearing the same thing because I'm recording them all on the same day. And in the morning, it was very snowy. Seems now all the snow's gone, which I've just noticed. So it means I'm going out with Elvis. So from both of us, do take care, everybody, and I shall see you all again very soon. Bye for now.